new power couples. And that's what we focused on with some of these collaborations. Last year, we saw a lot of individual tools popped up, and we anticipated that some of these tools would get rolled up into bigger tools and, that everybody'd start working together a bit more this year. The collaborations we see released, we've got Leonardo was added to Canva in the way that Canva, I believe, acquired Leonardo, and they're keeping two separate companies. But Leonardo has been a really great free AI image creator that allows you more controls than some of the basics, but also is an easy to use one. And so now with Leonardo and Canva together, Canva is able to offer higher quality generated images. And that's been one of Canva's weaknesses, is having pretty poor images. So it's going to boost Canva's abilities. And there's so many people who already use Canva all the time. Like we've been using Canva for years. It's nice to see Leonardo moving in with Canva. Another collaboration on the more nerdy side of things is Perplexity and Polymarket. Perplexity has been known for giving accurate citations if you're doing research and providing good information, though I have to say it's been falling down a bit lately. But that's kind of what they were designed to do, is to be a trusted resource as opposed to an AI with a lot of hallucinations. And Perplexity is built on the common LLMs, but it's got guardrails that are supposed to make it accurate in its citations of information. So students will use it in their research papers and things like that. To find information, people go to Perplexity. And Polymarket is a blockchain-based prediction marketplace. And so Polymarket allows this collaboration with Perplexity and Polymarket allows AI-generated news summaries and predictions on events that users bet on. And so this is enhancing probability of winning in online betting and even in the markets, like if somebody's a day trader. So Polymarket and Perplexity is another one of those power couples, AI power couples that has just formed. I'm curious to see where that goes. I'm personally not in that market, but I know a lot of people who are. So that's why we cover this story. Because, I've known a lot of people who are using AI tools to optimize their investing, and they're doing really well. And as in making millions of dollars on this. And if you've got the cash to play with, sure, but this is something that we can't guarantee. Nobody can guarantee the results. And it's interesting to just know that it's out there and be able to play with it, or at least look at it if you're not putting money in it. And yeah, this is not financial advice in any way, shape, or form. This is just informing you that Perplexity and Polymarket got together. And then we have another power couple, and that's Claude and AI PRM. We've been using AI PRM for a year and a half at least, but I don't know, whenever they came out last year. And we love it. And it sits as a Chrome extension. It's been on ChatGPT. AI PRM is a set of more than 4,000 prompts that people like me have created to give you access to more complex results. So we've got the 7-question marketing plan and the 7-question perfect pitch. We've got the 7-question brand story. These different prompts that are in there that we've built. And AI PRM lays on top of ChatGPT, and now it's also on top of Claude. And we love that because for us, like I go to Claude as my go-to outside of Jasper. If I'm not getting the results I want, I go over to Claude, or sometimes we'll just have a conversation with Claude. I really like its outputs. And so we were testing how AI PRM prompts act in Claude versus in ChatGPT. And we'll save the results of that for later. But we're still testing, and our prompts do work because sometimes they break when there's updates, and the prompts do work inside of Claude. And we like the outputs of Claude for sounding more human and less robotic. So that's an exciting duo, is Claude and AI PRM. And then on the legal update, so we've got AI Smart Law. We talk a lot about regulation, compliance, and we want to stay on top of these things because we want to make sure that you are safe and protected as much as you can be when it comes to potential legal ramifications about what you're doing with AI as the regulations change. So we tend to be on the most conservative side of things, as far as we're not going to take anybody's likeness or art and put it out there that we don't have explicit approval for. So my likeness is out there in ways that I don't know what I was saying because somebody else programmed it to say something, but we're not going to do that with somebody else's likeness. And there are several cases in court right now about it. There is not a final ruling on this, but a California federal judge has ruled that visual artists can proceed with some of their claims against Stability AI, Midjourney, DeviantArt, and Runway AI. And they've alleged that these AI-based image generation systems infringe on copyrights and were trained illegally on their works. And so now the AI companies are required to disclose what their models were trained on and how they were trained. And to our knowledge, this is the first case where there was a ruling like that, where the AI companies have to disclose the information that that was used to train their models. So I think this one's a really interesting one to pay attention to. And then we'll see what kind of results this case, like what that evidence and what the results are going to be from this. And so the judge upheld trademark law claims, but dismissed allegations of unjust enrichment, breach of contract, separate copyright law violations. And so the core issue of whether the AI company's use of copyrighted materials for training constitutes fair use is still undecided. And for the artist, though, it's a significant step forward in the AI companies being forced to let somebody else look at their training data. There are some AI tools where you could upload a celebrity photo and create your own stuff, and the AI tool lets you do it. There are some AI tools that will not let you do it, and there are other AI visual tools that watermark everything and say this was AI created. Everybody has their own policies on this. And again, like we tend to be on the more conservative side. We don't ever want to use anything that somebody else has created, if we can help it. And we don't want to use any celebrity likeness that is not legitimate. I don't know if you've seen the picture of Donald Trump going around with all the women in evening gowns.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, where he appears to be closer to 6 feet tall, and he has these a bunch of Black women on either side of him that are in evening gowns looking beautiful, but you'll notice there's like 6 fingers and 4 fingers on the women. Yeah, and he looks a little more fit than he does in real life. But that's some of the stuff that has a lot of these companies like Runway not releasing their full capabilities to the public, because especially during this really contentious election cycle, if people are using these AI tools to put out false information, false images, which we know is just going to happen anyways, but with Runway, you could do videos that are very, very realistic, and they're only allowing certain companies to use their tool that they know are not going to do anything to tamper with election. And it's interesting. I'm curious what's going to happen after elections, if they're going to open it up more or if they're still going to be kind of conservative about it because they don't want any more legal battles to face either, just because a user does something, even if they don't agree with it, but that their tool enables. Um, so there's a lot that we're keeping an eye on right now, especially in this politically interesting time. Um, Tools that we talk about in here, which everybody knows we love, is Jasper, Leonardo, Canva, and Perplexity. Um, Probably I would say Leonardo and Perplexity, if I had to guess, probably least used, but Leonardo is Markar's favorite for images. So personally, probably her most used. Jasper and Leonardo, definitely. But that's the news this week. Some of the news. Of course, we know there's tons of AI news. Does anybody else have any interesting stories or discoveries to share with the group this week? Jenna, you do?
Mine is not related to business at all or anything like that, but I just discovered today that our washer dryer has AI built in. And apparently we bought one that can be a washer and a dryer in one. And I was going through the settings this morning going like, I'm doing bedding. It shouldn't take 4 hours. Like there's got to be something better. And there was an AI optimized setting that had it done in 45 minutes, but for bedding. And I could control it all from my phone. So
Oh,
yeah, as it's going, it's saying like this load is AI optimized, and then it dings on my phone and like tells me the progress of it. And like same with our Dyson. Like Dyson, I've heard is doing where like they're utilizing AI potentially in new vacuums to look at the different particles in people's houses, depending on like, do you have a furnace or do you have a heat pump, or like what are those things that are getting picked up by a vacuum in a house in a specific climate. So just really interesting. I was cleaning my house today, hence the hat, but like that's all of these things are happening. And I'm like, oh, there's AI and there's AI. So yeah, very interesting, especially with the washer dryer that LG has this AI optimized wash load.
Mackenzie's curious about the machine. She's in the market for a new washer. So if you could put a link to it, Jenna, that'd be
I'll
awesome.
have to I'll find exactly which one it is, but it's amazing. It's not cheap, but it's amazing.
That's
Yeah, I
great.
was gonna say, Jenna, I also have my hat
Oh,
on because I just got back from a walk. So yeah, I also got the new Dyson vacuum that does tell me that, and I've been playing around with it. So we are on the same exact wavelength.
that's great. So what does the Dyson do? So you said that the Dyson, it can tell some of the things about your house, but what else?
It gives you like an analysis of like what particles it's picking up because of like the different size. So it'll show you like you have more micro like dust versus like large dust, which would be like animal. And then it like suggests what of the heads you should use because you get like 6 vacuum heads based on like where you are in the house. And like as it's vacuuming, it'll like tell you which head it recommends for this space.
That is so cool. I have a Roomba and it's got the video where it can tell what it's going to run into so that it doesn't run over poop was the big complaint, right, from Roombas. Was because we've got the pet version. And if it told me some of those things, it would just be so cool. I don't know that it would change how I use it. And I could see if you had a vacuum where you're changing out attachments, it would, but that would definitely be helpful and cool. And that whole IoT, the Internet of Things, has been around for a long time, and it's fun to see that there's some AI stuff happening there. Oh, Jenna posted about the washing machine.
Nicole, did you say not run over poop? Did I hear that?
Yeah,
Doggy.
yeah, dog poop.
Puppy poop.
That was a big issue with the previous versions of the Roomba, like the early versions, is it couldn't detect if there was poop and it would just run it over and, obviously make a mess.
Hear it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Um, and so it was really big news when it came out that it wouldn't do that anymore. Yeah. And it's funny because sometimes the camera sees things that it sees as obstacles, but they're not really, and it's just a change in color of carpet or something like that. So it, like everything else, it needs training, you know. Yeah, Jenna.
I'm curious on your thoughts with Amazon buying Roomba and the mapping of homes to sell products to people. Like, I mean, if for me, like, I understand as a business, like, hey, that's great. Like, we can tailor things, whatever. As a human, I'm like, okay, I don't have a Ring doorbell specifically because of the things that they do. I don't have, like, there are specific products that I won't buy because of their policies and their goals and sometimes their political affiliations. But with the Ring doorbell, like, what's coming to your house? Who are the people coming to your house? What are they wearing? What are they driving? Like, as much as like what type, like, when are their tires needing to be replaced? Like, let's sell them some tires on that vehicle that we see from the doorbell. So I'm just curious on your thoughts of Amazon taking over the world with AI, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an Alexa in my home. I don't have a Google Home thing. I have no smart home. Oh, we have Ring and Roomba. We're doomed. Ned, you've got all the things. And my sister has all the things, and I don't. And not for any particular fear or anything, but where I live in our building, I'm in a condo building. I don't need a Ring doorbell thing. Um, there's an argument of convenience for people of, hey, you know how big my room is and you know that this sofa will fit or this rug will fit. That's awesome. So there's personalization and convenience, and personalization is a really big part of AI in retail, is just serving up what you personally would want because it knows you so well. And then there's the factor that no matter how convenient it is, it's really creepy. And it will cross the line for people. And so Amazon is notorious for doing these projects like Alexa that they then don't fund anymore. They defund and they spin off because of these sort of feelings that people get too. And Amazon could serve up music or movies that it thinks that you like. It can keep track of things like your prescriptions that you need to take. So there's certain things for different age demographics that are going to be more appealing too. And it is going to be so individual how people use it and how creepy people think it is, because no matter how cool the technology is, if it creeps people out, it's not a good strategy for them. And that is to be determined. Oh, Amazon prescription. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that one for some reason. I don't get a lot of prescriptions, but at the same time, it's just now it's really invasive. Like you know everything already about me, Amazon. Now you know like the drugs or whatever. I just think it's like a whole nother level of demographics I don't even want to know about. Like I'm just thinking out loud, like a Facebook ad or a Google ad in the future could be like, market to people that take this drug, like it could get that, people 45 to 60 to take this drug once a month, like I just think it could be really, I don't know, it's a little much.
Well, so the companies that can afford this are already making those correlations by your credit card statements. That information gets sold. Your phone records, that information gets sold. And they might not know who you are. Probably they do.
I
Even
know,
if you assign a random customer number, all of these companies are getting together and they're selling their data to each other so that they can sell more to you. And convenience. Okay, so it reminds me about a prescription. Well, my husband's dad needed those reminders. His were all on his Apple Watch, and sometimes he would give himself 3 doses because he thought he forgot and he didn't, or you know what I mean? Like, so there's certain people that it's really, really helpful for and can be life-saving. And then there's certain demographics where they wouldn't use it, don't want it, invasion of privacy. But if you think about how you age and the conveniences that you would want, I mean, I forget to take stuff. I was actually talking to somebody about this yesterday. They set a reminder to take their vitamins and have like Alexa remind them to take their vitamins. And if Alexa knows you're a regular vitamin taker, then Amazon may serve up whatever your vitamins are on a regular basis when it thinks you're out of them too. Yeah. So convenience and creepiness, we are just going to be walking that fine line for a while, I think. Yeah. I mean, last week we talked about the bot that MIT is making where you can take your phone and map out your home and a little robot could go in and do chores around your house. Yeah. So AI really could do your laundry and dishes, and they're working on that. It's a little robot right now. It looks like a person one, but it's like, I don't know if it's even 2 feet tall. It's like a small one, but like open doors, close drawers, do really basic things at the moment. And eventually that Rosie, I mean, the thought of having a robot in here doing things kind of creeps me out thinking about it. Like I'm looking over at my kitchen and somebody might be doing my dishes or some robot might be doing my dishes. But if there was a robot that served our whole building and went in and did chores and all the things, talk about a full service living space or a robot on every floor to go do all the chores. It would be pretty cool. And we're not that far from all those things. Yeah. Heather, Jenna.
Yeah, so I was the first one in line for Clear and the travel and airlines. I was like, I mean, literally like probably 2000. The first year it was out, it's a long time ago. So I think it was at that moment when I'm like, the government knows everything. They have my eyes, they have everything. So I'm kind of one of those early adopters. But what's interesting, I live in a condo building too that was just built less than a year ago. So there's little things that they're doing now that I just noticed, like there's a whole Amazon room, right? And there's a whole Amazon door, and there's a whole Amazon. There's all these things that buildings that were even done 5 or 6 years ago, they don't have. Like we literally have an Amazon structure and Amazon lockers, Amazon this, and it's on our phone, and we get all the things that, little things like that, where I think they're creating different kind of real estate. Like you said, I think if this building had like, oh, you can get Rosie for an hour a day, I'd be like, I'm in, right? So I think it's new things like that, even in condo living, things like that. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and they started that in condo living there's a high-end one in Seattle that was the prime example of this back in the day. And this was, I want to say they were building it. It went on the market 2007-8 when the economy was just like crashed, and they had just built this big, beautiful building. So they allowed tons of events to be held there. So I went there quite a few times, and they'd give you a tour of the building. And it integrated your nutrition needs, your exercise. You could have food delivered to your door, and you could have a training plan in the gym. And the gym was gorgeous, and you could have a trainer or not, and all the machines would know your exercises that you needed to do. And they were working on it being a smart building to support the kind of people that would be living there. Um, which I still don't even see that in the new buildings here that they're doing that sort of, I mean, because there's the
We
cost.
have like a Peloton, and then we have the mirror, one of the mirrors, the workout mirrors. So that's, I think it's not as advanced, but they have that now, and especially in these new buildings, because there's 4 buildings right now being built, and those are the kinds of things that they're already selling, that are the suits, super secret cool stuff, not only location, but all the cool buzz things that you get inside of that.
Yeah, in one of the buildings downtown, it's got the 10,000 square foot gym, and it has car share, like BMW car share for the building. Yeah, I think that the meals and somebody to come clean your place, that'll be next, or some robot to come clean your place. Jenna, did you have a comment or question?
Well, kind of, yes. So we live in Salmon Arm, which is halfway between Calgary and Vancouver. And I went back to Langley, where we're originally from, kind of by Vancouver. And we were in Walmart, and there was one of their cleaning robots. And like, we're from a small town now, I don't see that. So we were there with my kids, and I was like, oh my God, like move out of the way. And my son's like, no, like it knows where to go. Like it was just so normal to him. And so it's already happening. But then the other thing I was thinking is, like, you said, oh, these robots are fairly small. And it's like, I mean, there are days I would take anything. I don't care how big or small it is or what capabilities it can do one task. Great. Like, please do. So, I mean, just what a time to be alive with weekly, almost daily updates of things that are changing. My biggest concern has been and probably will remain to be just privacy and healthcare privacy. I think watching that unfold in the States is unfortunate. You know, it's a whole debate in itself, but when you talk about AI and prescriptions and that personal data, that we're talking medical records, like HIPAA and things exist for a reason. So then how that plays into AI, I think will be really interesting. And how the world reacts to it, I think is really more what I'm interested in seeing.
Yeah, and there's so much good that can come from that, and also so much bad. And some of the good side is then they can do these genetic tests and match you up with the medicines that are the best to heal you. They've been doing that with cancer drugs for a long time, and it's gone leaps and bounds in just the last year on how accurate these treatments can be based on your genetics and family history and all of that. And AI can take this aggregate profile and make suggestions that are going to be so much more accurate than it ever was before. And there's also the fear that if this information is sort of public and a health insurance company, a life insurance company gets a hold of it, they'll deny you, they'll raise your rates. And so there's liability in where that information is available too. They totally get that part of it. I mean, luckily in Canada, they're not that together. They're not that sophisticated, but I have used AI. I put my genetic nutrition report in there to pull out, it's like 82 pages long. And I would pull out pieces of information. If I listen to this podcast, they're like, if you have this gene, and they describe the gene, like, I don't remember if that's in the report. So I put the report into AI and asked for that section, and it gave me the page, but it also like gave the little synopsis of the section. So I could see if I had that gene or not. Um, and like I have the high cholesterol gene and I have the arterial sclerosis gene. And when they're switched on, all of a sudden you have high cholesterol, and there are medicines that are better for that if you have the genes for it versus if it's just like lifestyle and diet. So, you know, it is empowering. And if an insurance provider, let's say I moved back to the States, an insurance provider had that information about me for some reason, then I could be denied life insurance, or I could have a high medical premium if they knew that I had that gene. Even though it does not mean premature death or earlier heart attack in any of the studies. I think it might be like the most premature death was like 4 days earlier than someone that doesn't have it, is what they've found. But in insurance, it's typical if you have high cholesterol, you're denied for life insurance. You can't even get it. So that, and because I have that gene, I've been inquiring about it and looking into that topic a lot. So it touches so many areas of our lives, from laundry, to going to the doctor, and then the work side of things. We were having a conversation yesterday, and I wanted to continue this conversation, especially for Kate and Katie and Jenna on the call. But we were talking about AI note takers. And I know some of you have seen this before, but I wanted to show you Read.ai and why we choose Read over the other note takers. I'm going to share my screen and show you what, so I'll show you my reports overall. I can come in here. I get a daily read, which runs down the meetings that I have. And it just gives me the notes, but I have all of these different meetings, and they have scores. This score is a 77, and most of our scores are usually the 80s. We even have a 93, which is awesome. I've talked to other organizations where they're in the 60s and 70s, and I'll show you what the scores mean here. We've got read score okay. This was a meeting I attended and I didn't host, but the score is okay. Engagement is poor. Sentiment is good. And I can look at these highlighted items with the little dot where sentiment either went up or down. And so if I miss a client meeting for any reason, I can go in and check it out and see if there's a dip in sentiment. I might want to know where that was and why it was, what was being talked about. And so this is why I really like it. It gives you this information. Plus, you get the transcript, which everybody gets. We also get questions, key questions from the meeting, key action items from the meeting, and I can copy and paste this if there's any for me. It can separate it out. There's chapters to the meeting, so what sections there are. And then I can take notes right in here as well. And I can deep dive into this. And there's this graph where you can see the level of engagement and sentiment and where it goes down. And we have a specific moment. So I might want to check out this moment and what happened here and why the sentiment went down so much. In this particular call, Brian was talking 75% of the time. I'm talking less than 1%. Andrea's a 0 on this one. So we had some other people on here and he was presenting. So that's appropriate. But you can also see this. So if you've got people on your team who are doing sales calls or customer calls, you want to make sure that the customers have time to talk or your prospects have time to talk. And you'd also want to know if sentiment goes down, what did somebody say or do in the moment it went down? If it goes way up, what did they say or do that made it go up? We also get participant scores. You have an engagement score, sentiment, charisma. There's no charisma in this one, I guess. The little blue lines are average. Microphone off, camera off. And so I can see the reports for my team and we can share these meetings with each other. So if I'm on something that Andrea missed, but she wants to catch the highlights, I can share it with the team or with her. And Marikar will often go in and use these videos for social media. And you could just download the video and upload it to Opus, have it cut and send it out. And then you also get coaching, talking pace. So this was a really short call. It was one that got interrupted by a troll. So it got cut off. And while I'm even on this Zoom, I get a little, since Read is in here, I can see that how fast I'm talking or how slow I'm talking and if I'm talking at a good pace. Filler words, like, and, so those will show up. Bias. Oh, let's see what it says.
This is not a good example though of that because this was a 5-minute meeting that yeah, went awry. So
it did. It was pretty funny. We could take a look at our office hours. There's more information in here. Let's see. Oh, keywords in here. Fruit flies. Our talk time in there. Let's see. Deep dive. This is what one of your meetings is more likely to look like with the ups and downs. But there's a really big down here. Oh, it says no speakers, so maybe we just weren't talking for a minute. But I may want to click and see what we were talking about at these times. And it shows talk time. So again, here's the scores. And what I really like.
I have a question real quick. If I have this account and you're the one recording because it's your meeting, does it go into my Read.ai?
No. You would need to record it. You need to have your read, or I share it with you. I can share any of these with you also.
Okay. So if it's your meeting, you record, and then I have a read, I can make a request to share. How would that work?
Yeah. Yep. You can do that over in the chat or just ask me. This, you can see the talking pace on here. Filler words, 51 instances. You can see what the filler words are.
Yeah, one thing with that, Heather, you can set the settings that every meeting that uses AI just automatically sends it out to the people that attend it. But keeping in mind, regardless of if those people were in there when you first got into the meeting and it started recording, and at the end of the meeting when it's still recording.
I can see
So
what I
if
can
you're
do really
really
badly.
good at don't talk until you're ready and then stop talking when you're done, then it works really well. If you want to make adjustments to it or cut out parts, then you wouldn't want the auto setting to go on, but
I
it
can see
is
where that
possible.
could go awry. Like if Nicole
Yeah.
leaves, all of a sudden you and I are talking about Nicole.
Yeah.
And then
Or
she
even
gets the recording.
sometimes we get on office hours or early to a client meeting and you're talking about, oh, what you had for breakfast or whatever. And, you don't really want
Yeah.
to send that over. And yeah, I mean, there could be more risque things you talk about too, but,
But
it's just
but
something to
but if
keep in
you did
mind.
have a meeting that you did want to have everyone get it, you could do that without them like having to
Yes.
ask permission. That was kind of my
Yeah,
oh.
and you can also turn, like if you look, I don't know if you guys can see all the participants in this chat, in the participants right now in Zoom, but there's a read participant. It comes in like a person, so you can stop it at any time too. So if you've ended with the client and then stop that, and then you can keep talking and you're good. So
Yeah.
Thanks.
mhm. I mean, that's one thing I would want to know. So I make sure to tell people.
Yeah. Um, all right. So here's the talking speed, and it will tell you kind of a good normal speed to speak at. And it's helpful to have this. The reason we started paying attention to these things, we started using Udly, was because we're teaching classes and we want to make sure we're speaking at a good pace for people. We want to make sure that we're not using too many filler words. There's non-inclusive terms. Let's see. Non-inclusive sucks, shit, and mastermind. And I may want to observe how somebody's having calls on my team. Um, that's really funny, but any swear words are non-inclusive. You guys will show up on the list from this phone call as non-inclusive. Um, interruptions, when people interrupt each other, 0 instances, which is amazing. But we want people to have room to speak, and we want to be better, like be better in class and use quality words, descriptive words, communicate. And so when we found Read and that it gave you this coaching and this kind of feedback that you get, it's valuable. And we had been using a separate tool for this. And yeah, you'll get coaching on if you should have a faster talking pace or slower talking pace, depending on your audience. It shows the pace at different times when it was much slower, much faster also. So this is why we use Read. I really like it. I can also go to let's see, is it my For You? Yeah. I can see the topics in meetings. I could see what I missed. I can see action items for everybody, or I can see just my action items. And I love that because then I can see if there's anything I need to follow up with that I haven't followed up with yet. And key questions are also, I really love the key questions because these are helpful for us for a number of reasons, but what questions might have remained unanswered from a session? And those might not show up as action items, but there's action items of what we say we're going to do. We can copy these lists out. Let's see. Yeah. Anyways, this is what I really like about Read, and it's got my daily read on here. So it'll tell me about my meetings. And then it also asks me if the meeting was a good use of my time. And then when I'm scheduling meetings, it will suggest a good length of meeting for me in my calendar because I have it connected. And it will say meetings less than 30 minutes have greater participation. Or Andrea is better at this time of day. So if I'm scheduling with Andrea, this is the time that I should schedule with her. Or Andrea tends to be like heads down working at this time of day, so this is not a good time for a meeting. And all of that shows up in my calendar when I'm scheduling meetings. So that's a really cool aspect too. We'll see if I can show you that. Yeah, Jenna.
Does it have an integration with like a project management tool or something like that, where those actions, tasks can be input into subtasks of like a client project or something?
It does have an API, and we haven't done that yet, but that's something that we're looking into.
Okay.
Into the OS that we're using, the operating system, because we want to pull out all the to-do items too, and just
Mm-hmm.
automatically feed.
You can link to Slack. So if you have a channel, that you can do right away. You can do Gmail, Outlook, Teams, HubSpot, Salesforce. Let's see what else. There
Okay.
are, of course, like Nicole was saying, APIs. So you've got webhooks and Zapier too. So you definitely could configure it what would work best for your team. Slack is nice is if you have a channel per client and you can just push that stuff into there, then that way, because I'm not sure you could necessarily assign it from inside of Read. So to me, like if you pushed it to a channel, everybody in the channel would see, and then everybody would have to take responsibility for which action they were going to do. Unless you do the API and you get some whole super integration going, then of course you can do all kinds of things. But how it is right out of the box, you can go straight to Slack into channels. So
I wonder as we kind of teach ourselves the way to interact with it, it's like, okay, action item, person's name, and then it could eventually assign.
Because in the action items, it does say who is supposed to do it or who it thinks is supposed to, because sometimes it can be a little off, but it's pretty accurate, but it's still AI, right? So always have to consider that someone needs to probably look at it. But if
Yeah.
you have client A meetings and client A also has a channel, then you could have things go in there like action items or questions the client had or whatever that would flag the people assigned in that channel of what needed to be done.
Okay.
And that you can do without anything extra.
Yeah, because for me, a lot of times I'll say that I'll do something, but it's actually Andrea that's going to do something when I'm meeting with a client, or maybe it's Shonda that's going to do something. And so yeah, I know the things that are assigned to me aren't often the things that are actually assigned to me when I'm having a client meeting. And I could specify that so that the notes are better. Um, if when we get that integration going. I wanted to show you this too. So Read is integrated with my calendar. It's also integrated with Zoom. And if it's a flexible meeting, then it will choose the best time on the calendar, or else I will just pick the time and date. Total cost 1 hour. If we have 5 people on, total cost will be 5 hours. This little note, your 30-minute meetings have 7% higher engagement. And so I'm going to apply that. Now it's going to make it a 30-minute meeting and show me the times. That would be like, this is soonest and good, but this is a better time. Which I think is interesting.
Good, better, and best. What are they basing that on?
They're basing it on, well, right now it's just me in the meeting, but they would base it on whoever else is in the meeting. So if I invite her, it'll take into consideration her schedule too. But the time of day that would be the best based on like attention and all of the scores in there. So if you get better scores in the morning, it will say that the best time would be in the morning. If your scores go down in the morning and up in the afternoon, it would suggest afternoon times. It's kind of interesting that it can do that information and give you those insights also. And this is why we really like Read. I still have an Otter account because I have so much history in there, but I don't use it for notes anymore. I use Read because of the extra information that it gives me. And the reason that I wanted the new participants to to see Read and get a feel for it is that you'll want to record some of your meetings that you have with people. So Katie, you'll want to do this. You'll want to get Jeff on and just record your natural language. And everybody else will want to do this too, because when it comes to defining your voice, we'll show you how we can take these scripts and turn them into your voice descriptions. And so if you can get anybody on your team or that you might need to write on their behalf and get them in a conversation, and Jenna, it might be just you. Katie, I think it might be you, and it might be Jeff, that you would want to pull out their information. And Kate, it's probably you, and you may need to, for your organization, make it a little bit more professional than casual conversation. You'll probably have to add some notes on that in the voice, but I want you to record some of your calls using Read or something else, but we really like that. You can do free calls in Read too for a while, and be able to come to class in a couple weeks with transcripts. And so we want to get you recording now. Oh, we've got somebody else. Same person. We want to get you recording now so that you have that content for some activities later. Yeah, Kate?
So you're asking, like, for instance, I could use a colleague and we could go on a Zoom call and add Read to the call and just have a conversation, like do a meeting that I would normally do in my office, but just do it via Zoom and record that. That's what you're suggesting?
Yeah. You could record it, because if you're having in-person meetings, absolutely. I know I'm having remote meetings. Katie's having virtual meetings. I don't know, Jenna, are yours in person or virtual?
Both.
Okay. So,
but I'm wondering, I have heard that, you know, this app, you can have it running and taking notes as well. And so that's, I mean, I think that depends where you're meeting and all of that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm excited. Like this is a potential big time saver already. Like here we are in what, the technically second class. I'm like, okay, I'm like, thank you.
Thank you. I'm good. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Hashtag worth it.
Right.
And Read right now does not have an app yet. Otter does, but you can have your computer, have your laptop open, and you can be recording something. Just have a Zoom open if you're in person and do some recording. And it's pretty good at pulling different people out. If you're in person, that might be a little more challenging. You may need to say, hey, this is Jenna speaking, just at the beginning. So hopefully, and sometimes it'll do person 1, person 2 until it knows you. Or if you're on a Zoom, it's easy because then each person is defined. But yeah, so record some meetings and, do that over the next couple of weeks, and you'll start to get a really good base for how you sound and how you speak and what you want to keep and what you want to get rid of too.
When you started using it, what was the biggest thing that surprised you about your delivery?
I don't know if it surprised me. I know that I say words like starting with so. I say so or and at the beginning. It didn't necessarily surprise me. It did bring it up, and it made it glaringly apparent what I say. And sometimes, I guess the speed, it helped me to regulate a good cadence of speaking so that I wasn't speaking too fast, because I'm so eager to get the information across. Sometimes I would speak too fast. And so it helped to regulate the speed, I think was part of it too. Yeah. Andrea, what about you?
I think for all of us, it just made us clean up our speaking, especially in meetings, to clients. It's also a really good reference for, oh, well, we talked about that at the last meeting. Oh, I don't remember ever talking about that. And then, here you go. Like, here's your transcript, So that can happen internally and externally. Um, that's one right there. So you'll see that a lot in our read reports. See, I said it again. And again, it's kind of strange, right? When you start looking at it. We noticed narration of things we were doing. That was one of the big ones. How
I
much we
do
were
that.
talking before and after, and how it didn't fit into what the meeting was actually designed for. So it also made our meetings better and more to the point, and you could see how much time you're wasting and just keeping track more than anything. But it's funny to watch.
Yeah, Marakar has to cut out, she cuts the beginning and end off of our classes because we'll get on a few minutes before and I'm sitting there, I narrate the whole thing of I'm going to start Zoom, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to start the live. And so Marakar always has to cut that off and I try to be more quiet in the beginning and make it easier for her. And then also at the end too, I narrate all the stuff that I'm turning off and stopping recording and things like that. So it helped to clean up our process of how we do things for this in particular, like the mastermind and also class. It helped to show all of us that are teaching a class or helping with a class, the words that we're using that are inefficient and not effective, and to be more precise with our words. Yeah. It's embarrassing, honestly. Like, I feel like it's embarrassing when I see these things, when I see the stats.
We just laugh about it though. Like, thank goodness we have a group where we can talk about where we mess up and how we're going to work on it. And up there it goes again, ha ha, I'm narrating, or ha ha, I'm saying a million times, it's about getting better. And this is the way to track so that you can track getting better. It's not about pointing out flaws. It's about here are the areas where we can improve and like actually seeing the improvement, which feels good when you're like, oh yeah, I have an 87 now instead of a 73 or whatever your score was. It becomes kind of a game. So that makes it fun too.
Yeah, and we've used it with sales training also, and helping people be more animated and expressive and get a higher charisma score, because if you're boring and monotone on a sales call, you kind of lose people. And when you're on a Zoom, it takes more energy to occur as interesting and have those inflections up and down, and not to occur as monotone, because there's something about video that takes out expression. Yeah, Heather.
So I teach this, I teach this in my podcast class. And what I say to people is you talk through the camera. So like if you and I were in person, if you're right here, I'm only going to speak as if you're right here, right? I'm not going to talk really loud if you're just right here. So that's what we naturally do because the computer is like right here. But with Zoom or any video, you have to actually talk past the camera. It's called talking. So almost you have to talk like they're over there, because that's the only way to move the energy through the camera. So like if you're in sales calls and things like that, it's going to sound loud. And it's unnatural because we assume if the person's sitting right in front of us, that's really loud. I don't want to upset them. But on Zoom or video, you have to talk. I call it talk through the camera. You're actually talking to that person way over there.
I like that. That really makes sense too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you're like right here in front of me, you'd be thinking, Andre would be like, you're yelling at me. Like, but on Zoom, it doesn't feel that way because I'm like talking like what I call past the camera. Yeah, hope that helps.
Yeah. And having Read as your objective observer, you can see the Read score and how you can improve it. So we had a conversation with somebody who I was observant on the sales call with him, and it was so monotone, so flat. And we talked about how to get that energy up and that how it occurs, how it comes across. And it's important for some roles. Some roles, when you're just having meetings with your team, it doesn't really matter as much. But when you're talking to your clients and having those meetings, you want to occur as expressive and have the emotional up and down, have different cadence, so that you keep the attention and you keep the conversation and they feel like you're interested. When you're monotone, you occur as bored and uninterested in the other person. And we don't want that. So we had a big conversation about it the other day and thanks to recordings, we're able to look at it objectively, and he could see, oh, this is really, I see this, I come across as this. Thank you so much for telling me, because until you watch those videos, you just don't know. So it's helpful. It's helpful on a lot of levels, depending on what you're trying to get better at. But for public speaking, for sales, and then for us to define our voice and how we're going to speak digitally, it's really helpful to use casual conversation. Yeah, Heather.
One more thing just to add this conversation. I was watching it was a news show, and they were kind of laughing within each other. They don't like to watch themselves on camera. These people like are on camera all the time. You know, if I name them, you're like, no. But what's interesting is because when they're on camera and they're on set, they are kind of talking, past the camera. They're talking through, right? And so like in a sales conversation, like I said, if Andrea is sitting right here and I'm selling her and I was talking like this, she'd be like, girl, chill the fuck out, like, shoo. But if I'm talking like that through the camera, you don't feel it, or at least you do feel it. So just a little tip, if you're in your room by yourself, like you're in your office or your second bedroom or whatever, and your spouse or someone can hear you in the next room, you're doing it right. Like if you're loud to them, like, girl, chill, then you're doing it right. If you just are having what I call a conversation here and they don't hear you, then it's not like doing it right or wrong, but then they can't feel the energy, especially in sales or podcasting or a YouTube. That's why lots of times when I was, you're in my class, but lots of times I was telling people, they feel like they're yelling. They're like, I feel like I'm yelling. I'm like, yeah, well, because you're talking through the camera. And for sales, it's really important. Sales or just meetings, being a leader in the meeting.
Yep, I get my podcast voice on too, for sure.
Hello.
And it sounds different. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah. It feels stupid, right? Because we're by ourselves in the room, but it looks great on camera.
Yeah. So Jenna, you must look
Jenna,
great
like, honey,
yeah.
I'm projecting my voice. I'm trying to sell. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather. Thanks everybody for being here today. I really have to hop off in time. I've got well, Carter's going to be on the next meeting with me too. And anyways, thank you for coming. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Let us know if there are any topics that you want to cover. We do have some experts lined up that are going to be guests soon. With summertime, we've got vacations and a bunch of things that, logistically have been a bit challenging to get our usual guests on, but we do have some new guest presenters coming. And we will announce that in the email. Please do send us a message with any of the questions, any of the topics that you want to cover on a Wednesday. And if we don't know it, we'll bring somebody in who does. And we've got a lot of fun AI friends. Oh, AI email responses. Absolutely. Thanks, Jenna. Thanks, everybody. It was nice to see you.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks.
Hair looks great.